Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those massive and gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. USDA Prime Wagyu, not choice, Prime. Give them a call, find out what's for dinner at 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching in select markets on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and Wow Cable TV. It's also welcome in everybody that may be watching on hotel television. In about 600,000 rooms from coast to coast. Everybody else streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer, as well as Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure to check out that group, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, baseball, we've got about 15 real top guys out there remaining as free agents. And look, there's a whole bunch of guys out there. Everybody has their list. And look, whether it's this network, that network, just base, everybody says, well, you know what? Let's take a look at them. We're going to take a look at the top 20 free agents who have not signed yet. Actually, one of them have, so it's really 19. With predictions, maybe, I don't know, just some fantasy and thinking. And who knows? I'm a fantasy baseball player. Maybe you are too. And we'll have a quick discussion on that right now. So just like our friends over at Just Baseball, look, they are saying that, look, we are less than a few weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. All right. It seems like the World Series was just last week. And yet so many players are left without homes in free agency. But then again, you know, a lot of these people, they sign during spring training anyway. So since the last time there was any kind of update from Just Baseball, there's been some movement atop the relief market with Jeff Hoffman finding a new home in Toronto. Of course, third time's a charm, and the Dodgers signed both Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. So also, big bat fall off the board. Yes, a big bat does fall off the board, and that's with Anthony Santander. And you know, they say, all right, the guy hit 44 homers last year. The problem is this guy only hit 235. And so you could say, well, you hit them when it counted. They all count. And a batting average of 235, in my opinion, is unacceptable. That's my opinion. And I can say that as a former pitcher. I think it's great these guys are not hitting their weight. But honestly, a batter should be hitting no less than, 248, 250. That should be the absolute minimum that these guys should be hitting, in my opinion. And so when I see a guy hitting 238 or whatever it's 235, yeah, he hit a whole bunch of home runs. You know, Kyle Schwarber is a great example of that. Kyle does hit home runs when they matter. He does get the hits when they matter. But then again, Kyle Schwarber's hitting, 215? Something like that, 218? Something to that effect. He certainly should not be the leadoff hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies. In fact, he should probably be a 4 or a 5-hole hitter, and I would probably argue that he's a pretty good cleanup hitter, and maybe you could put Castellanos behind him. I'm not really sure, but it would sure seem to me that Kyle Schwarber is not the prototypical leadoff hitter. Maybe the Phillies could have harmed themselves last year in the postseason by allowing that charade to continue, because some guys just don't belong there, and that would be like putting Santander as your leadoff hitter with 44 home runs and a 235 batting average. That makes no sense. Nevertheless, there are plenty of free agents out there, lots of talent out there still sitting on the market, waiting for new homes. But the problem is the price of admission is so damn high. And look, folks, I don't care whether you believe me or believe what I'm saying or not, or you agree or disagree. That doesn't even matter. What matters is finance and economics. The reality is finance is driven by what? It's driven by the almighty dollar. And you say, well, economics is driven by people. And peoples do what? They spend dollars. So some teams, third market level teams, they can't necessarily afford the same price tags that for example, the Dodgers will outbid everybody, right? And that's when they say, well, the rich get richer. Then there's the proverbial haves and have-nots, which I absolutely hate that saying. But in this case, the baseball world is that way. I would argue the National Football League is that way. I'd argue the NBA is that way too. Even hockey, we're seeing a little bit of that, but there's a little more parity in hockey. I mean, those salaries haven't gotten completely out of control yet. But we're at a point right now where, some of these guys getting paid 30, 40, 50 million, 60 million a year, whatever, 70 million a year. For what? For what? Do you actually think that Juan Soto is worth all that money? In my opinion, his $700 million for 13 years is a colossal waste of money. Absolutely. Boy, when I think of what the New York Mets spent to get a 280 hitter over to their team, yeah, he had 41 home runs. I think he stole 7 bases last year. But remember, he had Aaron Judge hitting behind him. So imagine if Juan Soto has nobody to hit behind him, because right now, of course, the Pete Alonso saga continues. We'll get to him in a minute. But imagine Juan Soto, maybe he would hit 270. He'd still have maybe those 7 stolen bases or something to the effect. But he's not that prototypical cleanup hitter. He's not even a 3-hole hitter with great numbers. Imagine what Big Frank Thomas would have got if he was just a youngster, a 25-year-old player right now. When he was 25, what he was doing at the age of 25, I mean, come on, this is right in the prime of this guy's career. He's 2-time MVP, Hall of Famer, and all this other stuff. Listen, you take a guy like that with power numbers and gets all the hits, and I mean, let's face it, this is a guy's an RBI machine. And so you look at all that and you say, wow, what would Big Frank Thomas would have probably been worth $1 billion. Now, all that said, let's take a look at what's out there right now. JD Martinez, look, that guy's 37. I mean, his stats last year, he slashed 235, 324, 06, only hit 16 homers, 67, 69 RBIs, whatever. I got to tell you, folks, this guy is not one of those great available hitters. He's just a guy that is at the end of his career. He's 37. He's got a 1-year, $5 million deal sitting out there with incentives, whatever. I mean, look, I wouldn't spend a penny on this guy. He's a nice guy, whatever, but sorry, not worth that kind of money. And these people over at Just Baseball say, well, team prediction is going to be the San Diego Padres. Why would the Padres add such a guy? I mean, they say most teams already have a plan in place for a DH, including the Mets, of course, who re-signed Jesse Winker on a 1-year deal. Winker took at bats away from Martinez down the stretch, yeah. But JD struggled. You can't put all that on Jesse Winker. That's a bunch of nonsense. Jesse Winker was an above-average player. And look, when he was with the Cincinnati Reds, he was a good player, but he wasn't a great player. The Reds said, you know what? We're going to move him in the same way they moved Jonathan India. Jonathan India had all this hype and all this crap around him. Oh, he is the next so-and-so, whatever. Who cares? But Jonathan India ended up beating a 250 hitter, so they shoved him off to, I think, Seattle or something to the effect. Jonathan India is a decent player for sure, but the Reds did right by not holding on to, I wouldn't say his dead weight, but an average bat. So Martinez, they say, well, he had bats taken away from him through the New York Mets organization, through Jesse Winker. Big deal. Martinez wasn't good enough. There's only 2 reasons you're not playing baseball, folks. Either A, you're injured, or B, you're not good enough. That's fact. Here's another one. Paul DeJong, third base, shortstop. Last year, he slashed 227, 276, 427. He did hit 24 homers. He only had 56 RBIs. And look, this guy's 31. Again, he's got the same deal that Martinez has, 1 year, $5 million, whatever. And they're saying over at Just Baseball, well, team prediction, Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, DeJong is not a perfect player. We all know that. He strikes out about 1 out of every 3 at bats. But he is at least a quality big leaguer who could help most teams in the infield. But how many young kids are out there in the minors right now that could do the same damn thing? I mean, let's get rid of the old baggage and let's bring in the new blood. Let's let these kids play a little bit. And, people complain about the Athletics. They say, well, the A's, they don't sign anybody. They don't do anything. look, the A's are in the process of a move from Oakland to Sacramento in this season, the next couple more seasons, and then they're going to be playing right here in Las Vegas after that. And by that time, the Oakland A's are going to be a team in contention in an aging American League West, where Houston is already in the rebuild process right now. They've already gotten rid of some big pieces. They're already trying to rebuild on the fly. The Texas Rangers, hey, let's face it, they shot theirs already, and they got themselves a World Series. But the Rangers, they'll have some good players coming in, and they'll probably dominate the American League West over the years. Seattle has the best pitching in the American League West, but they don't have any hitting. And so that leaves what? The Angels. Those guys, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, of Orange County, the Orange Curtain of Interstate 5, of Earth, with a rock pile out there in the outfield. I don't know. Those guys are in big trouble. And, we're rooting for Perry Manassian over there. I just think that Perry's hands are tied from Artie Moreno. But I have to tell you, it's going to be, in the long run, the Las Vegas A's will be contending with the Texas Rangers as they move down the road. We're going to continue on with these free agents. When we come back here on the Circus in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call
714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. All right, welcome back to everybody. Listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcoming everybody up and down the West Coast on Pick Your Favorite Affiliate over there, as well as through the Heartland, all the way down to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Over in Auburn, or better yet, in Atlanta, Georgia, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus all of our other affiliates from coast to coast. Thanks for joining us. Also on TV in select markets on Pick Your Favorite Cable Provider, as well as Hotel TV, and streaming on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, a big hello to our friends over at Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure you check out that page, Chicago Food Favorites. Join and have some fun. All right. Left off with baseball free agency in the last segment. And these are the guys that are available right now. Referring to one of our sources here. Our friends over at justbaseball.com. We'll give them a little bit of love just because we can. And we left off with Paul DeYoung, and Paul DeYoung slashed again 227, 276, 427, 24 homers, 56 RBIs. Played on a really bad White Sox team last year, a really bad team. But I'll tell you what, he actually was one of the bright spots for that club. And obviously he got dealt off later in the season, and so he did go to contention. That's the good news. But where could he land? He could end up with Toronto. The problem is he's a 227 hitter. Now, that's not very good. The guy's 31, so he's got plenty of life left. He does strike out seemingly about 1 out of every 3 at-bats. That was his rate thereabouts last season. But he is a quality big leaguer. And again, I was saying, let's let these kids play. And look, this guy is available like a lot of other guys. And they say, well, after a solid start in Chicago, DeYoung was dealt to the Kansas City Royals where he played third. Next to, of course, MVP runner-up Bobby Witt Jr., who I believe right now at this moment is the best player in baseball. And he did pretty well, but he didn't do great. I don't think he did great enough, certainly, to secure a spot over there. And the strikeout rate certainly spiked in Kansas City, and the power dipped. Maybe a little bit of pressure, because he was under zero pressure in Chicago because they only won 30-odd games. But ultimately, DeYoung is not the guy to play third base over in Kansas City. I don't think he is in Toronto either. That's where they predicted him to go over at Just Baseball. I don't really think that's the case. And honestly, this guy is basically getting beat out by Gleyber Torres, and Gleyber Torres is not really that good anyway. So we think about that and let's say, we've seen enough. Let's move on. Jose Iglesias, utility player. And this guy slashed 337, 381, 448 with only 4 homers, 26 RBIs. And he's 35, but he had limited action. 1 year, $6 million deal. People are saying he might end up with the Oakland A's, or better yet, not the Oakland A's. It would be the Sacramento A's. But who knows? Actually, I think they're just calling themselves the Athletics at this point. I don't really know. Pick a name. They all apply. But that is a team that is on the rebound, and they're building. They're going to be good. They're going to be good for a while, just like the A's were good throughout the 80s. They were a very good team. But when you think about the vibes for the 2024 Mets, Jose Iglesias was really one of the faces of that club. Pop star Sparks, of course. And the Mets run with his "Oh My God" anthem and quickly became a huge leader in the presence of the Mets clubhouse. So you think, well, why wouldn't he play there? So it would make sense to predict that he would return to the Mets, but he plays a position where the Mets have plenty of depth. Jeff McNeil is slated to be the opening day second baseman, and behind him, of course, is Luis Angel Acuna. So maybe there's another spot for him. I don't know, but that's a guy you probably want to keep on because he is one of those intangible guys outside of the fact the guy did hit pretty well. So he's one of those guys maybe the Mets want to keep because chemistry is a big deal in baseball, folks. It's a big deal like it is on the basketball court, on the hard court, just like it is on hockey, on the ice. In football, let's face it, 11 guys, and you have special teams. You have 11 guys. You got 33 different guys. Some of them do play special teams well, but generally you got 33 different guys. But let's face it, the baseball team, there's a small roster, and there's only so much depth. So that might be a good idea, in my opinion, maybe to keep Jose Iglesias in the New York Mets organization. I mean, whether Acuna will hit at the big league level, who the hell knows? So maybe he would platoon with O'Neill. I don't know. Or Jeff McNeil, I should say. But the problem is McNeil doesn't hit for power at all. Now, he's just a singles-doubles hitter. He did win a batting title a couple of years ago, but he was far removed from that last season. So who the hell knows what they're going to do? I think it'd be a mistake by getting rid of Iglesias. Let's say that he's going to re-sign there. How about Kyle Gibson? Kyle Gibson, starting pitcher. He also, again, here's these aged guys. He's 37, 8-8 last season, 4.24 ERA. I don't really know about that. And let's face it, he did eat some innings, just about 170 innings. He ate 151 strikeouts, and that's pretty good. So he's striking out just under 1 per inning, so more of a contact guy. Probably he's got a 12-year deal. Is he going to just let the A's spend more money on him? I don't know. I mean, that may be an opportunity. How about Jose Quintana? It seems like this guy's been around for 50 years. 1 year, $13 million. His stats last season, 10-10, 3.75 ERA. He ate 170 innings, though. 135 strikeouts. He was pitching to contact, which is good. Team prediction, somebody says Toronto Blue Jays. I say just keep him exactly where he is. But look at it this way. 6 of the remaining top 20 free agents are starting pitchers. One of them cleared 170, and that's this guy. And, of course, there were times that this guy at 35 years of age looked like Father Time was catching up to him. And he was kind of hovering around that 7.2 ERA in his first 5 starts. That's not so good. But then he started dropping, getting into regular season form, and he bounced back very well. So this is a guy that has some value, but that contract is pretty heavy. I don't know. Here's another guy in question. How about Max Scherzer? 2-4 last season, 3.95 ERA. The guy's 40 years old. 40. That concerns me. He only pitched 43.1 innings, so basically 43 and a third. Did strike out 40, which is good. $16 million. Who the hell is going to eat $16 million? They're saying the Atlanta Braves. I don't think the Braves are going to eat that money because, honestly, they're going to make the Rangers pay that money. That makes the most sense to me. Why wouldn't they? And I think that, let's face it, that would be foolish spending. Now, remember, everybody said, well, Chris Sale was washed up in this and that. Chris Sale came back, won the Cy Young. Yeah, but Chris Sale is healthy. I'm not saying that Scherzer's not healthy, but I'm just saying he seems to be susceptible to injury, and I don't necessarily know. Look, the Braves just let Charlie Morton walk to the Orioles for $15 million, but Charlie Morton, again, was playing very, very well, pitching solid for the Braves, but they let him go. So you say maybe that contract replaces Charlie Morton's. I don't know. I don't think so. If that's the case, why would they make the deal? That's just basically a swap, old guy for old guy. Here's another old guy, David Robertson. This guy seems to be been around forever. ERA last season of 3. Now, he's a reliever. That's too high for a reliever. 1 year, $11.5 million. But if you can get paid somewhere making that kind of money, God bless you. I don't think anyone's going to pay that one. How about Randall Grichuk, an outfielder? Guy's 33, another 30-something-year-old. Slash 291, 348, 528, 12 homers, 46 RBIs. 1 year, another $12 million. $12 million for, let's face it, he did hit 291, which is good, but he only had 12 homers and 46 RBIs. So, I don't know. I mean, he's not very productive in the grand scheme of things. He is, but he isn't. Problem is he's 33. Once players get past that 30 years of age mark, or once they hit 30, it seems like the injuries pile up. Last year, Grichuk signed a 1-year, $2 million contract to be Jock Peterson's platoon partner in Arizona. And Grichuk was expected to handle the short side of the platoon with most of his bats coming against left-handed pitching. But, of course, he thrived in that role. So why not just leave him there? He did hit well against lefties, 319, right? 151 WRCs, 184 plate appearances. He still hit 319. That's pretty darn good. But remember, he wasn't a full-time player. So why would you take the risk and eat a $12 million contract on him? I wouldn't do that. No, I would honestly take that money and go elsewhere with it. I'd take one of the kids. Carlos Estevez, relief pitcher, another relief pitcher in the mid-twos in his ERA. He's 32, 3 years, $30 million. The Angels are predicted to actually take this guy over. And the Angels had him the last couple of seasons, gave him the keys to their closer role until dealing him for prospects at the deadline. So he basically was dealt off as a rental. Do the Angels re-sign him? I don't know if Perry is going to re-sign this guy. I just think it's too much money. His ERA is too high. How about Nick Pivetta? Here's a guy, 6-12. 6-12 with a 4.14 ERA. Is this guy worth 2 years, $40 million with an opt-out? Get the hell out of here. Team predictions, Blue Jays. How about team predictions left out? That would be the position, if you know what I mean. And everybody says, well, how about Toronto? Everybody always says Toronto. Look, free agent starters out there, Corbin Burns, Sean Manaea, Walker Buehler, all coming off the board in the updated season. And let's face it, those guys are gone for a reason because they eat innings and they're good. I don't believe Nick Pivetta is worth $20 million a year. I don't think he's worth $2 million a year. With a 6-12 record and a 4.14 ERA, I don't think so. That's too high for that kind of lettuce. How about let's keep shopping Toronto Blue Jays and let's keep going from there. And I don't really give a damn with his strong strikeouts to walk rate. His ERA is too high. Back here in a few minutes, going to continue. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus TheSportsCircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out TheSportsCircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which could be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Stitcher, and a whole bunch more. Also, make sure you check out the store at the Sports Circus as well. For all you cold weather people right now, it's getting a little chilly out there, folks. Snow in Florida, snow in Texas, all kinds of chaos going on everywhere. So guess what? Maybe you need a nice knit hat. How about a fleece coat? How about a sweatshirt? How about some sweatpants? How about something warm? Check out TheSportsCircus.com, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus, because there's lots of great items there. And guess what? The store has all kinds of cool stuff that's made right here in these United States of America. Yes! That's right. That's what matters these days. Why give the money to foreign countries when we need it right here in this country? Hell, the cost of living is so damn expensive. Listen, everybody who's listening to this program knows the same damn thing. By the way, welcome in everybody, TV or radio, you know who you are, streaming. And the reality is, life is getting really expensive here, so let's try to spend our money locally, maybe with the mom and pops and whatnot. And think about this, every time you go out and buy those expensive shoes and whatnot, a lot of times you're shipping that money overseas. When you're buying those products from these big organizations, you're sending a lot of that money right overseas. So why not spend locally and drive your local businesses? And I'm sure a lot of the mom and pop stores would absolutely appreciate that public service announcement. All right. Speaking of spending here, I'm going to continue on with one of my favorite guys from fantasy baseball. I had this guy all year last year, actually in the year before too. I had Jurickson Profar. He was with the Padres last year, and last year he slashed 280, 380, 459, 24 homers, 10 stolen bases, 85 RBIs. This guy is good. He is good. He's one of those guys you don't really know because you say, well, you know, he was kind of late in the coming up into the system situation, but look, as a 32-year-old, he's one of those guys that you really get some bang for your buck. He was with the Padres last season. And a lot of people were saying, well, you know, maybe he's going to go to the Giants and this team and that team. No. I don't think so. And the reality is a lot of companies or a lot of people that were talking about this, even as Just Baseball, that's what I've been citing here, they say, could we really project a Jurickson Profar for any other team? Of course you can. There's something about Profar and the Padres uniform that just works. Really? Come on, people. What is this based on? It's not based on diddly you-know-what. And they say, well, last year, the guy had a one-year deal that paid him just $1 million. All right? And that's great. Last year, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. received a 3-year, $42 million deal to stay in Arizona, and he was not coming off an all-star season. But now remember, Profar is coming off an all-star season. In fact, he was leading the league in hitting for quite a while last season. That's pretty damn good. And by the way, the guy hits in the clutch too. And he steals some bases too. In fact, this guy arguably had, I would say, you look at his slash line. You say, all right, 280, 384. He wasn't that too far behind Juan Soto. Yeah, he had 3 more stolen bases than Soto. He did hit a handful of home runs less, and he had a handful of RBIs less, but the guy was a good situational hitter. He really was. And so what's that worth? I guess what's the going rate? Maybe a Lourdes Gurriel size? Well, guess what? It's the Atlanta Braves that lopped him up. They got a 3-year, $42 million deal for that guy. And now the Atlanta Braves, look, they've had some moves. And you say, well, what were the moves they made? All right, so Mitch Fair, starting pitcher, went to the Angels. And Dylan Lee agreed to a 1-year contract. This is, all right, now this stuff is this year. We're talking within the last couple of weeks. Jared Kelenic agreed to a 1-year contract avoiding arbitration. Garrett Cooper agreed to a minor league deal. Starting pitcher Alan Winans designated for assignment, so that guy's done. Amos Willingham claimed off waivers from the Nats. Chasen Shreve agreed to a minor league deal. Jurickson Profar, of course, we just mentioned. Alan Winans lost off of waivers to the Yankees. And Connor Gillespie designated for assignment. That guy is probably done as well. But all of that said, they say, well, how about the free agent tracker? What happened with the Atlanta Braves? Max Fried, we know he went to the Yankees, 8-year, $200-odd million deal, whatever the hell, $218 million deal. Travis d'Arnaud went to the Angels, 2 years, $12 million, and they didn't really need him anyway. Charlie Morton, a year, $15 million, went to the Orioles. Aaron Bummer stayed put. Laureano, he's staying put. Gio Urshela went to the Athletics, 1 year, $2 million deal. Whit Merrifield stayed put. Kevin Biggio, Kansas City Royals, he went into the minor league system there. Brebbia stayed put. Minter went to the New York Metropolitans, 2 year, 22. But Jackson, Matzek, Chavez, Wendell, Duvall, Rosario, they're all staying put. And if you look at their starting lineup, their starting lineup actually looks pretty good. As we look at the projected starting lineup, we say, all right, well, Michael Harris is going to start in center field. Jurickson Profar is going to start there in right. And Michael Harris II is a really, really good player. Really good player. And so, I mean, that's arguably one of the better leadoff hitters in the National League. And Profar would be the number 2 hole hitter. And Austin Riley would be the number 3 hole hitter over at third base. Matt Olson, all-star at first base. The guy's a big bomber. The guy just knows how to do it. And Marcell Ozuna, another big bomber, as your designated hitter. And Ozzie Albies at second base. And, of course, he's a switch hitter. So you got 2 switch hitters. Profar's a switch hitter, and so is Ozzie Albies. And Sean Murphy as your catcher. Kellenic as your left-handed right fielder, and Orlando Arcia as your shortstop. I still think they're going to make a move maybe to do something with Arcia, but these guys are pretty damn good. I got to tell you, the Atlanta Braves are going to compete. No question. These guys will compete, and people say, well, how are they going to compete when they only have X, Y, and Z? Look, these guys are good enough. So moving on in this top 15 or 20 or whatever the hell is. Look, Jack Flaherty, he already signed his deal. Jack Flaherty's gone. Pete Alonso, he's sitting out there at first base. And his original rank was number 7, but now he's number 2 because everybody else is signing. And people are saying, well, this guy's going to get a, I don't know, multi-year contract, $100+ million. Maybe he will. 6 years, 140-ish, who knows. I think he's going right back to the Mets because Juan Soto needs somebody to bat behind him like he had Aaron Judge. And so moving on in this rodeo, Alex Bregman, this guy's still sitting out there, and a rebuilding Houston Astros, they let him go, and he slashed 260, 315, 453, hit 26 homers, 75 RBIs last year. That's not bad. But, of course, maybe this guy's going to get a 5-6 year deal, and he may end up with the Detroit Tigers. I don't really know. But, look, there's a lot of considerations out there. We already know what happened with Juan Soto. Corbin Burns, we already know this guy signed. And so, I mean, he ended up with the Diamondbacks. That's a really good situation. Watch out for those D-backs. They may end up winning the National League West. Willie Adames, he signed as well. Willie signed that $182 million deal with the Giants, which I don't even understand that one. Blake Snell, he's off the board. He signed that deal with the Dodgers for 5 years, $182. Max Fried, he's gone. He signed that 8-year, $218. Santander is gone. He signed that $92 million for 5 deal with the Blue Jays. Teoscar signed with the Dodgers. He's off. Manaea signed, of course, with the New York Mets, that 3-year, $75. Evaldi, that guy signed a 3-year deal with the Texas Rangers. Kikuchi, well, 3 years, $63 million with the Angels. I don't even understand that one. Christian Walker, he's off the board. That's a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Astros. And Christian Walker just made some other guys expendable, of course. Tanner Scott, he's off the board. 4 years, $72 million with the Dodgers. Jeff Hoffman, this guy's off the board. A 3-year, $33 million deal with the Blue Jays. Tyler O'Neill, that outfielder, $49 million for 3 years with the Orioles. Severino as a starting pitcher, he signed a 3-year, $67 million with the A's. Gleyber Torres, that guy was talked about as being available. Nope, 1-year deal with the Tigers. He's out. Jock Peterson, I like this kid. 2 years, $37 million with the Rangers. Walker Buehler, that guy, I tell you what, somebody's going to get really a good deal with him. I don't care if it's 2 years and $30 million, whatever the hell it is, second year being $13 million player option. I believe that Walker Buehler, coming back from injury, he is going to be at that Cy Young level. This kid is legit. Oh, by the way, too late. Boston already signed him. 1 year, $20 million. Justin Verlander, he's still sitting out there. No, he's not, because he signed a 1-year deal with the Giants. Jesse Winker, we know he's returned to the New York Mets. Kirby Yates with the Dodgers. And on we go, folks. Did you hear the size of these contracts? It seems like they're averaging $10 to $15 million a piece. I mean, shoot, when I was playing back in the day, we didn't get paid hardly anything because, look, it was just part of the game. The contracts were the contracts. We played because we loved the game. Sure, the money was great, whatever, but getting paid $1,200 a month just to play a kids game is a great thing for someone like myself. But you look at these tens of millions of dollars that these guys are getting, and it takes the fun out of the game. And frankly, it makes the game expensive for the fans too. Back when I was a kid, it cost me $1 to get into Wrigley Field to sit out in the bleachers. Now it costs $75 for a ticket on pick your favorite ticket broker site. $75 for a $1 seat. Imagine that. Concession will cost you, $50 or whatever the hell it is. Hot dog, drink, whatever. Some kind of souvenir, another $30. I don't know. All I know is now that $2 day for a doubleheader at Wrigley Field has turned into a $200 day. Imagine that, when the consumer price index from when I was a kid to now is only a 4.5% increase, or 4.5 times increase. Technically should cost maybe $20, but no, it's $200. What a ripoff. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment is brought to you by our friends over at Al's #1 Italian beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Folks, if you don't know what an Italian beef sandwich is, you better go ask somebody, you better go find out, or you better go read about it. Go to alsbeef.com and you can read about it. Listen, you don't have to be in Chicago to enjoy this incredible food. You can go to alsbeef.com and you can pick some up over there. But this is the original. They are the founders. They are the ones who established that Italian beef, put it on the map. Back in 1938, they opened their first restaurant, and now they have them all over Chicagoland. I got to tell you, folks, if you've had a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, at some point you probably have. You say, yeah, that's pretty good. If you think that's good, this absolutely destroys it. Seriously, it's that different. Imagine a French dip on steroids kind of thing. It's one of those, French dips are really damn good, but this is a whole different animal. Man, is it good. And it's a messy sandwich, but guess what? It's one of the best sandwiches you'll ever have, and I got to tell you, you can't even say sandwich because it's a sandwich. That's right. Check them out again at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com, and tell them the circus sent you. All right, welcome back to everybody and all of our affiliates, radio, TV. You know who you are. Everybody also streaming. And check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, folks. That is Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group. And I am the administrator, so just don't spam it because I will have to delete your post. But make sure you post your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes, and just have some fun with it, folks. It's good stuff. All right, let me shift over into hockey for a minute here because everyone's watching Alex Ovechkin, and we'll talk about his record-breaking goal when it happens. He's only 20 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's seemingly unthinkable that you can break that record. And this guy is a good player, and he's playing on a pretty good team, but he's not playing on the same team that Wayne Gretzky had with all those Hall of Famers and this and that and all those cups and so forth. I think Wayne's teams won 5 cups, and Ovechkin's teams have won 1, and that was, in fact, against the Vegas Golden Knights. I went to Game 1 of that finals, and Vegas was just beat in that. Of course, they came back a few years later, and Vegas won the Stanley Cup just a couple of years ago. And let's face it, these guys are good, but Alex Ovechkin is one of those players that he could play in any era. And the only player I can really think of that mirrors his game in the last 30 years was the great Jeremy Roenick, who played for the Chicago Blackhawks. JR was one of those guys. All right, taking a look at your league leaders right now in points. On the individual side, it's Nate McKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche with 75 points, followed right behind him from Edmonton's Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov with 70, Mitch Marner at 67, Connor McDavid at 65. People call him McJesus because that guy is incredible. That's in total points. How about total goals? Leon Draisaitl, that's McDavid's line mate, with 35 goals leading the league. Sam Reinhart with 28, tied with William Nylander. And Mark Scheifele of Winnipeg has 27, tied with Braden Point. Now the goalies, how about Connor Hellebuck? How about Winnipeg hanging around? Winnipeg normally kind of fades about this time of the season, but now Winnipeg seems to have the answer in front of Connor Hellebuck, which means they actually are playing some defense now. Hellebuck is number 1 in goal against average at 2.02, which is a very respectable number. And he's number 2. Actually, he's tied for first in save percentage at .927. Now, he's tied with Anthony Stolarz, of course, with the Toronto Maple Leafs at .927. And Stolarz is 4th in the league in goals against average at 2.15. Darcy Kemper for the Kings at a 2.06 goals against average. Very, very solid. .924 save percentage. Logan Thompson, who was with the Vegas Golden Knights and now is with the Washington Capitals, has a stellar 2.09 goals against average. And, of course, he is also 3rd in the league in save percentage at .925. I mean, look, these stats are good, folks. These are good teams. When you look at these teams, you say, well, which ones are really making an impact? I mean, individual stats are just that. We don't really care about the stats too much because we don't want to read too much into it because stats are just that. But we have to look at where these players have taken their teams. So let's take a look at the conferences, just conference by conference. Look, it's Washington that's atop the East. And, of course, their goaltender is right there near the top of the game. And Logan Thompson, he is really, really playing well. And it's Washington with 71 points. And in fact, they even have one game in hand on the number 2 Carolina Panthers, or Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. They both have 49 games played, where Washington only has 48. So they have 1 point in hand, and they've got a sizable lead over Carolina and Toronto. So they're comfortably in first. And Toronto, also their goalie, of course, which I had just mentioned, they're in third. So you've got some guys that are playing good hockey between the pipes that have their teams in contention over in the Western Conference. As I said, Connor Hellebuck is leading the league in goals against average, and he's actually tied for lead in save percentage. And those guys are in first place right now over Vegas. Vegas does have one game in hand. However, even if they get a win, it's still Winnipeg in first place because Vegas just had a 5-game losing streak, which they just snapped. And Edmonton, their guy, they've got them at 63 points, which are 2 wins off the pace, and they have 1 game in hand on Winnipeg. And Minnesota also 1 game in hand on Winnipeg, but they sit 3 wins and, well, we'll say 3.5 wins behind them. And so, again, the guys that are performing the best, their teams are right there. And even Nate McKinnon with total points, he's leading the world in total points. His team is number 6 in the grand scheme of things. And you say, well, why the hell is he talking about hockey? First of all, I love hockey. Hockey's a great sport. Hockey's a man's game. But what I'll tell you is that I saw something I was very, very, very disturbed about. And I was watching a game. And this was, it was yesterday, whatever. And I'm watching a game, and I say, well, all right, well, we've got the Golden Knights playing the St. Louis Blues. And, of course, the odds, it was Vegas minus a puck and a half. And then they were plus 180 with that minus a puck and a half. Right, so think about this. We talked about betting. We talked about betting quite a bit on this show. And the St. Louis Blues were plus 1.5 pucks, right? And there was a minus 225 for that, getting the puck and a half. So the point is this. There was an over-under. This is crazy. There's an over and under in the game of 5.5. Late in the game, the St. Louis Blues are trailing 3-1. They pull their goalie. With 5.5 minutes left in the game. The Blues, 2 minutes into that campaign, they score a goal to make it 3-2. Mind you, there's 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in the game, or in the third period. And they still have plenty of time, and they still have time to pull the goalie again. So they wait a couple of minutes until it's around a minute and a half. We'll call it 2 minutes. And then the Blues pull the goalie again. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying here. The over and under was 5.5 in this game. The Vegas Golden Knights were minus a puck and a half. Pay attention to those. Because here we are. The Blues are making a feverish pitch to tie the game at 3. Well, and what happens? Vegas gets possession of the puck with about 29 seconds left in the game, or in the third period, nonetheless. 26 seconds. They score a goal, what seemed to be a goal that would make it 4-2. Now, the replay, it went to the booth, it went to Toronto, to the war room, and it showed that the Golden Knights player had both feet in the offensive zone before the puck. And in case you don't know what this means, in hockey, you can be offsides, just like football has offsides, soccer has offsides, whatever. Okay, so in hockey, the puck has to enter the offensive zone, just like soccer, before the player enters. Now, the player could actually be straddling that entrance, which is called the blue line, in case you don't know. So the player could actually be straddling the blue line, 1 foot on either side, while the puck is going across the blue line into the offensive zone. But no, that wasn't the case. The replay showed that the Golden Knights player had both feet already in the offensive zone. Both of his skates were already across the blue line, and the puck has not crossed the blue line yet. Mind you, this went to review. Yes, it went to league review. And conveniently, either nobody saw the video monitor to say, hey, wait a minute, this is a play that should have never happened. Now, the game was not played on ESPN, so we can't ask our hockey guy, which is Dave Jackson, who is a retired official for 30-odd years in the league, and he is the official voice for the rules analyst for ESPN Hockey for all games on ESPN. So I can't ask Dave, but I will ask Dave when he comes back on the show in a couple of days. And we're going to talk about this because what happened, the reason this is significant is because, remember, it was a 3-2 game. It was a 1-goal game. That means the Blues were covering because the line was 1.5 pucks. But in lieu of that goal somehow being allowed, which it should never have been allowed, it was the Vegas Golden Knights who were -1.5. Somehow they magically covered the point spread or the goal line at -1.5 pucks because they won 4-2. That's right.
Show me the money!
Oh, that's right. So if you bet on Vegas, you're happy that there was some cheating going on there. And if you bet on the St. Louis Blues, you're losing your mind because that game was as fixed as the day is long. How disgusting! And they say, well, the outcome of the game didn't really matter. No, it mattered to the betting world. Why does it matter? Because $40 billion industry, that's what's going on in the betting world. $40 billion in case you're keeping score. And by the way, if you're looking at, well, geez, what states actually have it legal? Well, guess what? There's only 9 states that don't have legalized gambling for sports betting. That's right. And legal online only is going to be North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Maine. But guess what? 41 states are legal online and or retail. That's why this matters. That's exactly why this matters. And all we're seeing is cheating. And the sports bettors are getting cheated because these guys are cheating in plain sight. And this was the referees and not the players. The referees had every right, or they should have called that as a disallowed goal because the player entered offsides. And the play was even challenged by the St. Louis coaching staff. They challenged as to whether the offensive player came in offsides. And he came in offsides, but conveniently the replay booth said, nah, we're going to go ahead and let this one go. And so what ends up happening, the bettors end up getting burned on that one. Of course, I want to say something else. The bettors end up getting burned on that. And guess what happens? Well, the odds, that doesn't matter either because the standings stay the same and all things constant in the game of gambling. What a colossal ripoff. This is disgusting. Football cheating. Patrick Mahomes gets the 3-peat. You'll see it, folks. It's going to happen. I don't even want to talk about football. It's going to be Mahomes in a 3-peat, probably over Philadelphia. We haven't seen these games yet, but by the time you hear this, it may have already played. That's it. I'm bent out of shape. We'll see you next time. Don't go anywhere for 23 hours.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560. Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.